This is the FlipNerd.com Expert Real Estate Investing Show, the show for real estate investors, whether you're a veteran or brand new. I'm your host, Mike Hambright, and each week I bring you a new expert guest that will share their knowledge and lessons with you. If you're excited about real estate investing, believe in personal responsibility, and taking control of your life and financial destiny, you're in the right place. This is episode number 403, and my guest today is Brett Snodgrass. Brett is a power player and wholesaled 354 houses last year, which was double the year before, also an impressive number. However, it caused some growing pains, and Brett has found that bigger isn't always better. As a real estate investor, it's critical that you have a vision for what it is you're trying to create. Now, a lot of us started in this business for freedom, financial freedom. We want freedom with our time. However, even if you're only doing a few deals a month, you may become enslaved to your own business if you're not careful. In fact, a lot of real estate investors fall into that hole of just being self-employed, not really business owners or even entrepreneurs. Today we talk about building a business that helps meet your vision and building a team that can help you not only make your business more successful, but help add more balance in your life, which is why you probably got into this in the first place. Please help me welcome Brett Snodgrass to the show. Brett, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure to be on Flip Nerd.
Yeah, it's good to see you, buddy. And I always love talking to you. We just talked about it on the last show too. Like I'm having some people back that have been on the show before, and I just kind of realized that, hey, after this is 403 episodes now. That's a lot.
That's a lot of episodes, Mike.
Yeah, I know. We have this other show, REI Classroom, that we're kind of approaching. 800 and something episodes on that one. That's like a 5-minute show. But by the way, if you haven't checked out REI Classroom, check out REI Classroom, guys. But I kind of came to this realization over the past 6 months or so that for the first couple of years, we went out of our way to try to find new people every time. And it's like, for guys like you bought 354 houses last year. You got a ton of experience, good and bad, right? Like, we could talk
right.
for days and never even repeat the same subjects again. And so I just, I'm kind of reeling it in and saying, I want to deliver good content to people that are listening and watching the show. And I want to talk to people that I respect and that I like. And I don't care if they're on the show 10 times. We're going to deliver value each and every time. So
let's do it. I mean, the market and my business changes literally every year. So we're growing and we're just getting stretched, and everything's always changing and different. And so, yeah, I love to be back. So thanks again.
Yeah. So today, guys, we're going to talk about kind of team building and really having some vision to what you're building in the first place. Like, what are you setting out to do here? Or if you're trying to grow, or God forbid, if you're trying to retract a little bit, that's okay too. It's just kind of having purpose and knowing what it is you're trying to do. So it's going to be really a good discussion, because you're going to find out here that Brett has grown. He did 354 deals last year, a ton of deals. And a lot of people just assume, wow, that must be awesome. I want to be him. And, even for me, doing lots of podcasts and having a big network and stuff, there's a lot of baggage that comes with that. And sometimes it's not really what you set out to do. And we all kind of get in this business to have a better life and have impact. And sometimes you find out that it's maybe a noose around your neck sometimes that is not really kind of doing what you intend. So, Brett, I'm really excited to talk to you about this. But before we get started here, maybe just tell us a little bit about you and kind of how you got into the business.
Yeah, definitely. So I am not from a very wealthy family. My parents were both teachers, so I grew up in that type of environment. And so we didn't have a lot of money. We were very middle class. And I remember my dad even saying a statement that when he was teaching for 33 years, he never remembered a time that he had more than $5,000 in his bank account. And that really resonated with me. So I ended up getting a teaching degree, and that's something that I did not want in my life. Not saying that money is everything, but I wanted to be able to give more. I wanted to be able to take vacations and not always have to be living from paycheck to paycheck in my life. So that kind of started me down this entrepreneurial path, and I tried a lot of entrepreneurial things. I did some network marketing. I flipped anything and everything that I could get my hands on, including like cars and just stereo equipment, just stuff like that. And then I got into real estate kind of fell into it. My dad introduced me to a guy who was flipping land. So this isn't houses. This is basically large parcels of land, 50 acres, 100 acres, and he owned his own timber company in southern Indiana, and he was looking for bird dogs to work for him off of commission. So I was out hustling. I was helping him find deals on these large pieces of land, and I did really well at that. I remember I was getting ready to get a paycheck for $7,000 commission working for this land developer, and that was more money than I had ever seen in my life. Yeah. And so I was getting some checks like that, but I started reading some books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and The Millionaire Next Door, and some of these other real estate books, and I realized, you know what, most wealthy people get into their wealth from real estate. So I really need to dive into this. And I was working for somebody else, and I always saw myself doing my own thing. So back in 2007, 2008, I was scrolling through houses on eBay online, and I found a house in Youngstown, Ohio, and I had about $5,000, and Dad had about $5,000, and we bought this house for $9,000. It was a super cheap house in the inner city of Youngstown, Ohio. And we ended up selling it for $15,000, and that's when I realized, wow, I don't know what we just did. It was something. And then what could we build a business around this? Could we build a system? And at that time, there was a lot of REO properties, so we developed an MLS system where we put in a bunch of offers, and we put in 200, 300, 400 offers a month, and we'd get 5 deals, 10 deals, and we really built an amazing business with that. And that's kind of how I got into wholesaling real estate.
That's awesome. I should probably not say this live because I know I'm going to screw it up. I actually met somebody a couple weeks ago. I can't remember where I was at. It might have been my mastermind or something that had sold you one of your first houses. I don't think it was the first house, or bought a house from you. It was it was on eBay. I can't remember who it was, but anyway.
Was it one of your masterminds?
I think so. I cannot remember who it was though. So anyway, that's a side conversation. I'll remember it as soon as we get off here. But yeah, really, it was like this guy was like selling. He started selling houses on eBay. This is not anymore.
Was his name Ted?
Oh yeah, it's Ted Snyder. Yeah.
Yeah, Ted Snyder. Yeah. I actually still buy houses from Ted Snyder.
Yeah.
So
he's in my Investor Fuel Mastermind. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. I love Ted. Who was that? Yeah.
I just got an email from Ted today. We just bought 3 or 4 houses from him in the last few months. So he's a good friend of mine. And so that's small world.
Small world for sure. So that's awesome, man. Well, let's talk about, I think a lot of people that get started in real estate investing, we all have ambitious goals and dreams. And probably more importantly, one of the things that we tend to know more than anything is what we don't want in our lives. And we're like, I don't want to have to work for somebody else, or I don't want to work for that company anymore, or I don't want to have to rely on corporate America, or, we kind of know what we don't want, and then we think we get kind of attached to this dream of being a successful real estate investor. But a lot of people end up just being self-employed. Like they end up doing everything themselves and not building a team, and kind of stuck, right? Not really getting those freedoms that we all get into real estate investing for. So let's talk a little bit about kind of building a business, or just kind of building a job for yourself. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, Mike, I mean, it's, I'm in the trenches. We had a little bit of conversation before this. And so I'll just kind of tell you a little bit of my journey of building the team and kind of what happens and how I built that. So my dad and I had a great business. I started flipping houses, fixing them up and flipping them. And I realized that was a crazy job, and I was super stressed out, and I had just gotten married, and I was flipping about 6 houses at one time, and I remember just couldn't sleep at night because I had contractor problems and management problems and just loan problems and all these different things. And I said, I can't do this anymore. So, but I love the real estate. So that's when I got back into wholesaling about 3 years ago, and I created our company, Simple Wholesaling. And I decided I was going to build a team because I wanted that freedom, and I hadn't done that for the first 6 or 7 years. I had a job. I was doing everything. I was wearing all of the hats. I was taking all the calls. I was negotiating. I was selling all the deals, going to all the closings, just doing everything. And I said, I don't want to do that anymore. Yep. So I met a friend of mine, and we sat down at Cracker Barrel, 6 in the morning. One one morning and he needed a job. And I would not recommend hiring somebody in this way. But I was like, I need some help and you need a job and let's try and help each other. So I said, I heard about these guys writing yellow letters and doing some direct mail stuff. So that's how he started. He just started hand writing my yellow letters. And then I realized, wow, there was definitely something to that, because we started getting deals from him writing these yellow letters.
Right.
So that kind of led one thing to another. I met another investor. He bought a couple houses from me, and he was working at a trucking company, and he was a pretty good sales rep for them, but he didn't like what he was doing, and he loved the real estate. So I said, well, maybe you can work for me and you can help me on the acquisitions side of the business. So again, kind of a win-win, just kind of winging it here and there. And so he started, and then that's when we really started scaling, and I started to realize it wasn't like I was super scared to pay them, because that was my whole mentality of I don't want to pay anybody, because I always figured that would be an expense. And the way my dad taught me, don't pay somebody else if you can do it yourself, because that's an expense.
Right.
But I really started to realize is, well, if I pay somebody $10 an hour, but they help bring in $20 an hour into the company. Number one, I'm not doing the job and I don't really like what they're doing that much. And number two, it's not the expense, it's the return on investment. If I put in $10 and get $20 out, it's a great investment. So that's when I really started, the light bulb went off, and I said, I want to build this team now. And then the structure started to form. And basically the last 2 years, we've pretty much doubled in size on the team, and we've doubled in deals, we've doubled in revenue, and we've doubled in everything. And the way my team looks now is I have 9 people, including myself. Most people, 8 people, including me, are all local. And then I have one virtual assistant that works out of the Philippines as an admin. And just really to answer your question, I'm not used to running a business, so the past 2 or 3 years and running a team and managing a team, this is all pretty new to me. Yeah. And I'm just trying to figure it out as well. But you're exactly right. Sometimes as you grow, you continually just find problems. Now you're just working with managing people, and then people have problems, and you're having to feed their families and put food on their table. So it's a different type of ball game. So now I'm doing more deals, and I'm just going to get super transparent. But I feel like I'm still working as much. I'm still having the same stress levels and the same headaches. And right now I'm trying to figure out, what do I do? How do I scale it back a little bit? And actually the theme, we have different themes for each year. Last year our theme was going pro, which was pretty cool, because I felt like, I come from a sports background, a basketball background, and there's like an amateur team and then there's a professional team.
Right.
I said, guys, we're kind of in that amateur level, but let's go pro this year. That's a whole different level. And I feel like we did. We went from 160 deals in 2016 to 354 deals in 2017. And then this year, 2018, I'm trying to think about what's the theme, and our year theme this year is going lean. I don't want to really do any more deals. I want to make more margins, but honestly, I want to make more margin in my life, and that's what I'm trying to do.
If you're an active real estate investor already doing deals and looking to double or triple your business, you should consider joining the Investor Fuel Real Estate Investor Mastermind. We're a small group of investors that share our best practices, tips, and tricks with one another in an effort to all win. We limit our membership to only 1 to 2 members per market, so everyone shares their knowledge, tips, and tricks openly and honestly. Our members include some buying 1 to 2 houses a month, up to some of the most respected investors and leaders in the real estate investing industry, some of which have personally done over 1,000 deals. If you'd like to be considered for our invitation-only world-class mastermind, please visit investorfuel.com to request your personal invitation. Our next meeting is coming up quickly. Go to investorfuel.com now to learn more.
Scale it back a little bit. And actually the theme, we have different themes for each year. Last year our theme was going pro, which was pretty cool because I felt like, I come from a sports background, a basketball background, and there's like an amateur team and then there's a professional team.
Right, right.
I said, guys, we're kind of in that amateur level, but let's go pro this year. That's a whole different level. And I feel like we did. We went from 160 deals in 2016 to 354 deals in 2017. And then this year, 2018, I'm trying to think about what's the theme, and our year theme this year is going lean. I don't want to really do any more deals. I want to make more margins, but honestly, I want to make more margin in my life, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting phenomenon. Like most people, if they just by hearing you did 354 deals, they assume you're successful, and therefore you must be happy. And everybody around you, it's like the land of milk and honey, right? But it's like that type of volume and having to build a bigger team, it's like, some people think they want that, but then when they get there, they're like, no, this isn't really what I wanted, right? And I'm not saying that you hate your life, right? But
yeah,
it's like it causes new problems, and it's some of them are good problems to have, some of them are not good problems. Sometimes it's like, sometimes it's not worth the trade-off, considering that most of us get in this business for lifestyle and freedom reasons, right? We want to be able to travel. We want to be able to just do whatever we want, whenever we want, as much as possible. But if you end up kind of becoming enslaved in your own business, then that's not good either, right?
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm just, again, trying to figure that out, and our overhead is quite a bit. And yeah, like you said, I don't hate my life at all. I love a lot of the stuff I do. I love, our meetup. We just did a simple wholesaling meetup here locally last night, and I love teaching, and we had 85 people show up, and it was jam-packed in this room, and it was awesome, and I love doing that. And I love team building. I love we have our weekly team meetings on Fridays, and I love coming up with some creative things to like inspire them, to talk to them. I love doing all of that. It's sometimes really just trying to figure out the system and the processes and really just learning to let things go. And that's probably what I'm worst at is because I feel like I can do things the best. And some of that is true on some of the different tasks. But I have to realize if somebody else can just do it 80% as well as I could do it, but I get 100% of that time back, I have to realize that. And that's where the whole freedom comes in. And I have to really ask myself some hard questions. And it's a lot of self-reflection and just kind of thinking about all that and really just saying, what do I need to let go of that I'm not? And it's hard to do really to think about yourself that way, because you can critique other people and point your fingers. But when you start thinking about yourself, you're like, what do I need to do to correct myself? Because you have all these bad habits that you just go through life with, right?
And you gotta reflect and ask yourself, well, what is this all for, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes like bigger is not necessarily better, right? People assume that when they're new and they're getting started, they're like, oh, I would love to just like go to make millions of dollars. And it's like, yeah, but you're going to have a lot more expenses. You're going to have a lot more headaches. You're responsible for more people. So you lay in bed at night thinking about the stress of that. Mm-hmm. And, I think it's like, and then, you said this word before we started today. We talked about some other things. We were talking about the pendulum swinging, right? And sometimes we go from one end of the spectrum to the other. And it's like, I'm by myself. I'm working. I'm doing everything. It's too much work. I need to build a team. And then you build a team and it gets too big and there's too much financial burden or risk there that you're like, no, this isn't right either. And of course the reality is somewhere in the middle, right? But where is the question?
Yeah. I think, that the last mastermind group, there's a couple of things I want to kind of mention here. There was a gentleman that was the editor of Success Magazine, Darren Hardy.
Yep.
And he was talking about, the most successful people out of 100 things that come across their desk, they say no to 99 of them. So they say no a lot. It's not what they say yes to. And I think sometimes that's my problem. Right now, when you do get bigger and you start to build a brand like we're doing, I get asked to do a lot of things. I get asked to sit down for lunch or coffee quite a few times in a week, right? We're doing a radio show right now, which is awesome because I want to do some locally things, but we're doing a radio show called Real Talk, Real Estate Investing the Right Way. and it's through our local Cyria club, and it's really cool. So I'm doing a podcast, I'm doing the radio show, I'm getting ready to do a podcast with my daughter, which is awesome stuff I want to do, but just kind of keeps piling on, and I have to figure out, okay, write down everything that I'm doing and what do I want to eliminate, take out of my life, say no to, and figure out what is the most important things. So I feel like everybody has to do that, and that self-reflection is crucial in our lives.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm gazing to the left up here on my wall. So we went through an EOS implementation a few weeks back, and which is kind of from the book Traction for those of you that read it. I've actually talked about it a couple times here in the last couple shows. But part of the process is some of it is to decide what you're good at, or what you like to do, and I'll talk about that in a second. But you could even do it at an organizational level, like what are we good at and what should we do? And so if you kind of imagine this just like a 4-box quadrant, there's like 2x2 matrix, except for Gary put 3 at the bottom. So there's 2 boxes on top and 3 across the bottom. I have this big sheet that's up here. And it basically says, what do I love to do and what am I great at? And then what do I like to do and I'm good at? That's on the top. And then the bottom is I don't like it, but I'm good at it. And on the other side is I don't like it and I'm not good at it. And then there's
but
kind
I'm
of one
still
in the middle.
doing
It's
it.
like I like it but I'm not good at it. And so I know that was just a total mouthful here, so I won't
it's
confuse everybody.
awesome.
But it's effectively deciding what are you good at that you like doing, and what do you hate doing that you don't like it and you're not good at it. Like clearly you should stop doing those things. And I think it's just a matter of assessing, like, what are you good at and what do you enjoy, and what are you not good at and what do you hate. and I think sometimes in our business we feel like we could do everything. I kind of use this is a cheesy cliche at this point because I've said it before. If I were to buy a McDonald's franchise, I'm a perfectionist, and so I feel like nobody would get the fries as golden brown as me, right? But I've got to run the business. I can't be the fry guy. And so I think that's kind of what you're saying too, is like there's stuff in your business that you just have to let go of because you just can't do it all.
Yeah, and then just leading the team too, people are going to fail. They're humans and they're going to make mistakes. And sometimes I really just have to let them make the mistakes. What I fail at is when they do make a mistake, I've taken my hands off of this task and I'm letting them do it. But then when they make a mistake, what do? I pick up the task again. I say, you know what, you're not doing it right. I can do it better. And then I just start really not intentionally, but I just start doing it again. Yeah. And then I'm sucked right back in to where I was at. So I feel like as a leader of a company and you're leading a team, you have to let them make mistakes and then teach them and talk to them and correct them in a positive way, and don't get sucked back into the task of doing it yourself, because then, it's a lose-lose.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about people. So I want to just kind of emphasize again just the importance of, this is also an EOS thing. It's kind of fresh on my mind because we just went through it, and it's not like we went through it and we're done. Like it's kind of how we do things now, Mm-hmm. And so it'll take a while for it to like fully implement, but it's just having a vision, like knowing certainly what your core values are. I know that you know that for your business, but also what is your vision? Like what is it that you're trying to accomplish and kind of why? And so I think a lot of real estate investors, they're like, I want to make money. And that's how they start. But you can't build a business around that long term. Like do a couple deals and then solidify it or whatever. But you just have to know, like, what is it you're trying to accomplish? And then, of course, you add people in, and they need to understand your vision, and they need to have buy-in to it, right? And so let's talk a little bit about those right people, because I know you said you just kind of willy-nilly found some people early on and not necessarily the right way, but talk about finding the importance of having the right people on your team.
Yeah, I think it's super important. Number one, you have to have, I believe that Patrick Lencioni wrote a book called The Ideal Team Player, and I really use this in my business. And he talks about when you hire somebody, they need to be humble, so they leave their egos at the door. They need to be hungry, so they're not sleeping in until 10 a.m. and just, they want to get up and they want to get it done. And they need to be smart, not really book smart all the time, but they need to be smart at whatever they're doing, maybe people smart, common sense smart. So those are 3 things I look for. And I think the book Traction talks about really putting the right people in the right seats.
Yeah.
And I go through this all the time because I feel like that everybody that I brought on to my team started off in a different seat than they are in right now, because as you get to know them, you get to know their personality. Maybe they're more detail oriented and not as hungry and aggressive. And I had them in a sales role, and maybe since they're so detailed, they need to be more in a transactional admin type of role.
Yeah.
So I've really had to switch people around. And I just had this conversation today. So we just hired on a girl, and she's awesome. She's been with us for about a month, and she is the dispositions assistant. So she's really great at details. She takes notes and has like 6 pages, and she's doing our property presentations, and she's doing our listings on the MLS. She's doing our purchase agreements when we sell properties. So she's doing a lot of that admin stuff. But we had a need for someone to help take some of the incoming calls on the acquisition side, right? So I said, hey, I think maybe you got some extra time over here, so let's go ahead and have you take some of the acquisitions calls. So she just started this week doing that. And if you've ever taken calls from motivated sellers, you understand you get 20 calls, 10 of them are probably okay, 5 of them are a little harsh, and there's like 1 or 2 that they're just like cussing you out. They're calling you like, I think that she actually got called like the B word today, and she's just not used to that, so she's kind of welling up. And I just said, you know what? I don't think that this is the right seat for you, and it's okay. I think that the admin and the presentations and some of the marketing stuff, that's your seat, that's your background, and let's do that. And the more I do this business, I really realize that if you put someone in the right seat, that they can be an absolute rock star.
Yeah.
But if you put that same person in the wrong seat, that they're going to drown, they're going to, be miserable, and they're really going to suck at that position. And that's just something you got to kind of figure it out. So in our business, we do some different things. I think that personality tests are really crucial. We do the DISC test, which is basically a personality to see if they're a D or an I. Like, are they super dominant, or are they like detailed, or do they like to influence, things like that. And we also do the Colby test, which is a test that just kind of tells them what they're good at and what they're weak at. So that's really crucial. And then a lot of it just kind of comes through experience. Like I said, I said, hey, I like this person. They're really good at stuff, and they came in, and then I'm like, you know what? I think that they would be better over here. For example, I have one gentleman that he's working on our system. His name's Alex, and he's working on our systems and processes, right? So he's working on our Podio CRM. He's and he develops these outlines and all this detail, like stuff that drives me nuts, because he's putting this process. Oh, you do this, and this does this, and this person gets this task, and you hit this button, and this stuff goes over here, and it's all this development stuff and crazy stuff. And he loves it. He loves it. But he came in, that's actually awesome. He started taking the acquisitions calls, and that's what he did for about a year. And he doesn't even like talking to people very much. He's more of like, I want to be behind the screen and just not talk to anybody and just kind of do his process and stuff like that. So now he's in that right seat, and he loves it. And fortunately, he's stuck with us just because he's a loyal person for the first year, and he was probably in the wrong seat. So
yeah.
So I don't know.
Talk a little bit about how. So you gave 2 examples there of how you had right people in the wrong seat, and then fortunately you had another seat for them. A lot of times with small companies, there's only a couple seats. Like, there's not a whole lot. Especially when you're small and you're new. But talk about like what, and you don't have to get specifics on them, but sometimes what makes the right person, whether they're in the wrong seat or not, might be another story. But what, at least in your business, or maybe kind of just generally for real estate investors, or if somebody's listening right now and they're kind of wondering the same thing, like what makes somebody the right person for your business?
For me at my weekly meetings, I always talk about basically one thing that I expect out of everybody. And like I said, going back to the hungry, humble, and smart, that I definitely follow that. But really the hungry part of it is super crucial, because the people that haven't made it with our company, unfortunately, we've had to let some people go. That's just the nature of the business, and they just weren't the right the fit and we didn't have a seat for them. They just weren't the right person. And my biggest pet peeve that I really ask is, I just want you to show up every single day. And the people that are still with us, even if they were in the wrong seat, like Alex, for example, he probably wasn't in the right seat answering the calls, and he's not super extroverted, and he's talking to motivated sellers, but he showed up every single day. And maybe he wasn't the best at it, but at least we got some traction out of him. So we still grew as a company. But when you put the right person in that right seat, then it just explodes, right? So then we finally get the right person, and it just goes from there. So
yeah,
I don't know. So I think that the biggest thing for me is the right person is somebody who's super hungry, who's going to show up, who is just passionate about the opportunity. And I feel like that everybody that I've brought in, they've really been passionate because they've come from maybe a walk of life that they had a job that they did not like. They were working, these weird hours. They couldn't find maybe a position, or they were working in a culture that was super cutthroat, people cutting their legs out from under them. And then when they come into ours, we're super I want to encourage them. I want to, bless them. I want to be generous with them. So I feel like just the culture of what we've created with the core values, it has kept people here. So even if they're in the wrong seat, I feel like they hold on to the hope that, I'm just going to stick this out, and maybe eventually I'll enter into something that I truly enjoy, and that's kind of what's happened.
Yeah, the core values thing is awesome, and I think anybody that's listening right now, that's what you need to think about. What's important to you? What are your core values? And I know, again, I'm just going to keep going back to the EOS stuff because we just went through it. We had to define our core values, and I'm 10 years in the business, and I had never defined that. Now, it's not that we had no values. There's things that I valued that I just didn't have it framed on my wall of this is what we care about as a business, and we haven't done that yet, but we will. But I actually have it here in front of me. I have our vision traction organizer here of process you go through. But our values are probably a lot like yours. Are we have kind of listed 4 things: giving and caring. You care about people. You want to give. You need to make money as a business, but you want to give back. I mean, we give part of you're giving me and my audience your time right now, and I'm giving my audience my time. Nobody's getting paid for any of this. We're just sharing our experience. We like to give, right? We like to share our knowledge. Hardworking and goal driven, same thing as you. I think if you remember, I'm in Dallas now, but I grew up in the Midwest. You've got those Midwestern hardworking values, right? Of just that are important, that you're going to get it done. You're accountable no matter what. The buck stops with me type thing. And integrity and honesty and loyalty, all those things are important. But I think for people that are listening, you have to kind of define what your core values are.
Yeah.
So that when you're talking to a prospective customer or a prospective employee or even partner or anything in your life, does this person fit my core values? Do they believe what I believe? Otherwise, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, everything boils down to the core values. And when you guys are thinking about core values, just like you, Mike, you don't have to think of 30 core values because that's just too many. You need to think of a handful that you can really remember. And every client that you talk to, and even the team in itself, that's how I hire people, and that's how we fire people and let people go, is based upon those core values.
Yep.
And if we have an interaction that is not pleasant, that's what we talk about. Did this represent this? One of our core values is leaving a lasting impression. So if we're talking to a client or a cash buyer or just another team member, let's say a motivated seller calls the acquisitions guy and they cuss him out, right? What do you do? How do you react to that? Do you cuss them out too? Or do you be keep your composure and be like, you know what, I'm super sorry. I would love to add you right now to the do not mail list so you do not get another postcard from us. And hopefully that will leave, a lasting impression, and try to do that. So super crucial. One core value that I implemented last year is that, just by having this transparent conversation is, I don't know, it is a core value. It's also an aspiring thing that some days I really, hit, but it really just kind of comes to mind because I have a business coach, and he built a multi-million-dollar business, and he sold it and for a lot of money. And I asked him, I said, hey, when you were, in your 30s or whatever, and you were growing this business, what is one thing that you wish that you would have done different? And he said, the one thing I wish that I would have done is enjoy the ride. And so I said, man, this is so good. When you're building this business, we just get sucked into it, do the grind day and day and start doing 300 deals a year and grinding it out. And you're like, wow, this is so awesome. And sometimes I'm forgetting to enjoy the ride. So that's just like one of our core values. And when we're not having a great week, that's something we can come back to. Guys, let's just take a breath, because we need to just go out and enjoy ourselves. Let's just not even work. Let's just go do something else. And so it just all boils down to that, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Brett, we're kind of coming to the end here. Maybe you could just share for people that are just getting started, or those that are doing some deals right now, but they're kind of doing everything themselves. What kind of advice would you give them on this topic of knowing that, hey, you're working hard to build something here or to get started building something, but the advice isn't like don't get big, because everybody wants
because people have huge businesses, right, and they have freedom, right. So that's not really
kind of summarize your advice for them of like how to grow, but grow in line with what their vision is, but do it kind of the right way. Like if you could kind of go back, like you just said, if you could go back and do it all over again, what would you do differently, and kind of wrap that in terms of giving advice to people that are listening right now?
I think you got to start off with the end of mind, not the end of mind on your goal to make $1 million a year or whatever that is, but the end in mind on what you want your life to look like. And if that's the way you want your life to look, and you want to grind it out 60 hours a week and make $1 million, then that's okay. But if your life looks a little bit different than that, and you want the freedom, you want to be able to go to your daughter's play or your son's basketball game at any given time, or go meet your friend for lunch, or go meet whatever you want to do. If you want your life to look the freedom like that, then that's what you need to paint. And then you need to take your business and try to structure it to hit whatever you want your life to look like. And I think that sometimes we just hire somebody and they make us some money, and then we hire somebody else, and then we hire somebody else, and then we didn't really start there, right? So right now, and that's kind of what I did. I hired a guy because I needed help, and I hired somebody else, and then so now a few years into this, I'm really starting to think about, what do I really want my life to look like? Yeah. And so now that's why we're kind of scaling back and lean. I said, I don't know if I want to be this big. I still want to make money and I still want to do good, but right, I need to train better. I need a better system here. I need to let go of this. I need to write down what I'm good at and what I'm good at and what I love, and only do those things. And everything that I am good at that I do not like, I need to let go. So those are some of the exercises like you've been talking about, Mike, that figure out your why, your passion, and what you want your life to look like. And then you have to structure your business around your life, and not structure your life around your business.
That's great, man. Yeah. And I think, we talked about this a little bit. There's this machismo in this industry of like, well, I hustle hard. And, if you were to kind of do less deals, like that somehow is a negative. Like people see that as, oh, he's not as good as he used to be. And it's like, at the end of the day, there's a million people that want to do what you're doing, and don't let their goals become your goals, because they haven't probably lived in your shoes and they don't know what your vision and your goals are. Right.
Yeah, and people think that people that are like very successful and want the freedom, I hear the stigma is a lot of times, well, I just want to sit on the beach all the time, and that sounds really boring to me. I would rather just do things like this, shows, help people, and not maybe get into the day-to-day grind of whatever it is I'm doing. So that's some advice. Keep it simple, though. It doesn't have to be super complicated. That's where our business kind of comes in, simple wholesaling. We just try to keep it simple, simple team, and doesn't have to be rocket science. And, as you scale, though, just kind of think about that end in mind. And your core values, that's huge. Your core values really probably, if you're a one-man show, are really just representing you, right? And my core values are basically defines who I am. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Hey, Brett, if folks want to learn more about you, obviously you have a podcast, you got another one coming up with your daughter. Maybe just share how folks can learn more about you and what you've got going on.
Yeah, definitely. So we are Simple Wholesaling. Our website is simplewholesaling.com. We have a lot of educational materials on there. Our podcast is on there. It is on iTunes, the Simple Wholesaling podcast. Me and my co-host Brian Snyder do that podcast together. I am launching another podcast with my 11-year-old daughter. It is launching March the 7th. And it's going to be called the Daddy-Daughter Show. So we're going to be having a website, very simple website, because I don't have time to do a bunch of stuff. It's just going to kind of feature the podcast, daddydaughtershow.com, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you want entertainment, you want some laughs, and you really want to learn how to relate to your daughter or any member of your family, listen to daddydaughtershow.com. So go to simplewholesaling.com and reach out to us.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, you too, Mike. Thanks again.
Awesome. Everybody, hey, this is episode number 403 with Brett Snodgrass. Brett's business is just blown up. As we talked about here, though, bigger isn't always necessarily better. Kind of depends on what you're trying to achieve. So you got in this business most likely, or you're trying to get in this business for lifestyle reasons and freedom reasons. So don't become a slave to your own business ultimately. But it all comes down to trying to accomplish what it is that you originally set out to do, and what fulfills your life in a way that whatever you did last couldn't, I guess. So guys, again, episode 403, we appreciate you. If you could, and if you haven't yet, please go out and give us a positive rating on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, YouTube, anywhere where you might watch or listen to the show here. If you watch it on flipnerd.com, just share it out with some friends that you think might get some value out of this. I'd appreciate it. That's what keeps us energized to kind of keep bringing you shows. After hundreds of shows, that's really what keeps me going, is the opportunity to talk to friends like Brett and to get some reviews and feedback from people that got value out of it. So appreciate you guys. We'll see you on another upcoming episode. Take care. If you're an active real estate investor already doing deals and looking to double or triple your business, you should consider joining the Investor Fuel Real Estate Investor Mastermind. We're a small group of investors that share our best practices, tips, and tricks with one another in an effort to all win. Real estate investing can be a lonely business for successful real estate investors, but it doesn't have to be. Investor Fuel members meet 4 times a year, but we talk to each other 365 days a year, and we focus on improving the profitability of our businesses, improving the quality of our lives. That's why we do this, right? And making an impact on those around us so we can truly leave a legacy. We limit our membership to only 1 to 2 members per market, so everyone shares their knowledge, tips, and tricks openly and honestly. Our members include some buying 1 to 2 houses a month, up to some of the most respected investors and leaders in the real estate investing industry, some of which have personally done over 1,000 deals. If you'd like to be considered for our invitation-only world-class mastermind, please visit investorfuel.com to request your personal invitation. Our next meeting is coming up quickly. Go to investorfuel.com now to learn more. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the flipnerd.com Investing Show. If you're not yet an elite member of FlipNerd, you're missing out. We have tons of great training, including a new detailed masterclass published each month, and live training webinars with experts twice a month. Plus, you'll get access to all of our archives, where we already have a growing library of masterclasses and other training videos. Elite members also get membership in our incredible online mastermind group, where many of the top real estate investors from across the country, including many of the hundreds of guests I've had on the show in the past, are already members. Whether you're brand new, looking to get started, or a veteran, you simply must join today. I promise you won't be disappointed. To learn more or join today, please visit flipnerd.com/lab. That's flipnerd.com/lab. See you on the next show.